Mark Waugh and Steve Waugh.
This is really tough because Mark Waugh was one of the best players to watch on a cricket field. And the game without Stephen Waugh is unimaginable.
Okay, now the time for our final and the rapid fire segment. And I have literally modeled this around how you do beyond the field, and some of the questions you might find similar. And these are answers that we will get from the host of that show.
All right, let's go for it.
So the first question to you, the first thing that comes into your mind, the funniest moment related to cricket on or off the field.
The funniest moment related to cricket on or off the field. All right. Wow, I need to scan back, but if I have to just say the first thing, oh my God. Okay. I'm terrible. I told you I'm much better at asking the questions than answering them. But I think there was I did this. No, I'm mixing up 3 or 4 really funny moments together. All right, so I'll just give you the first one that I thought of in sequence to it. It's when there was an India-England test. I think this is 2007. It's not something people might remember as frequently. I think it was the same. India won that series. Anil Kumble got his first test 100. That was the one. And Ian Howell was the umpire, South African, healthy fellow. And there was a piece of newspaper that continued flying around which stopped play, right? So he ran after the newspaper. And he ran really quickly to it. And David Lloyd was on air. And I was just watching this as a 17-year-old kid at the time. But I just laughed out loud in a quiet room. So I found that really funny. So he's described Ian Howell running after that piece of paper. Eventually, he's picked it up and just crumpled it and put it in his pocket. And David Lloyd says something to the degree, oh, look at Ian Howell run. And he just said he thought there's a sandwich in that. And he's gone for about 15 minutes. And it's just so subtle and so funny. Yeah. So it's the first thing that came to my mind. There have been funnier things that have happened on a cricket field. But that's pretty funny if you ask me.
Yeah. Okay. Your next question is that who is your favorite cricketer from the current Indian cricket team?
Rohit Sharma.
Rohit Sharma. Okay. So the next set of questions are based on are just questions that don't have a correct answer. They're just fan debates that go on forever. And
yeah, sure.
That's just how it'll be. So you have to pick the brightest future between Prithvi Shaw and Shubman Gill.
Shubman Gill, easy.
And amongst bowlers, we have Navdeep Saini and Deepak Chahar.
Navdeep Saini.
Okay. And you have to pick the better bowler for the Indian limited over setup, Mohammad Shami or Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, if you could play only one of them.
That's a good question, but I'll say Mohammad Shami.
Mohammad Shami, okay. And for T20 international matches, the better opener, KL Rahul or Shikhar Dhawan?
Oh, KL Rahul, easy. Shikhar Dhawan doesn't make it into my T20 team.
Okay, and the better captain between Mahendra Singh Dhoni and Dada Saurav Ganguly.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say Dhoni or Kohli. No, but between Dhoni and Ganguly, I think that's pretty easy as well, if you ask me, because it's Dhoni. It's quite comfortably Dhoni.
Okay. So the next set will be about brothers from families who've had to play for the same international team. Your question is, I will name a pair of brothers. You have to pick one of them. If one of them couldn't make it to cricket, who would you want it to be?
If one of them couldn't make it to cricket?
Yeah.
So I would pick the one player that I would prefer in cricket. You're saying no?
Yeah. I'm not getting either way. So you can tell me. You can pick the one you prefer or the pick.
All right. Let's try this. This is fun. Okay.
Okay. You will be picking the one you prefer, right?
Yeah, I'll pick the one that I preferred playing, and the one I'll mention both. The one I'd be okay not watching it.
Fair enough. So the first set is Umar Akmal and Kamran Akmal.
Okay. I would have no problem if Umar Akmal didn't play cricket, but I'm very happy Kamran Akmal played.
Okay. And Irfan Pathan and Yusuf Pathan.
Okay. Great question. Tough one. But I still think Irfan, the excitement that Irfan gave us when he burst on the scene was in comparison. Yusuf had some pretty big contributions as well in T20 and 50 over World Cup winning teams. But I would have rather seen Irfan, and I would have been okay not seeing Yusuf.
They get tougher. So Sean Marsh and Mitchell Marsh.
Yeah, I think Sean Marsh is wonderful to watch. He's a top batsman. He hasn't achieved full potential. So Mitchell Marsh, good player, but still a work in progress. So Sean Marsh over Mitchell Marsh.
Morne Morkel, Albie Morkel.
Easy. Morne. Morne
Morne.
is terrific. Morne is one of the best bowlers that played this game, and his record is still not reflecting that. There's a deeper discussion on Morne Morkel on that, but I just think he's a terrific bowler. So as exciting as Albie, the IPL player, was, I would pick Morne Morkel over Albie.
Okay. Hardik Pandya and Krunal Pandya.
I think it's a bit unfair because Krunal Pandya is still starting his international career, but
Yeah.
I think Hardik certainly had a massive impact. So, and I think he is the better player, So you can tell now with Krunal getting a few opportunities. So Hardik first, Krunal second.
Okay, the last two that I think will be the toughest ones, Mark Waugh and Steve Waugh.
This is really tough because Mark Waugh was one of the best players to watch on a cricket field. And the game without Stephen Waugh is unimaginable. But if I'm to purely pick on the basis of watching, is what you asked me, who would I rather seen playing cricket? There was no one better than Mark Waugh to watch while batting in his era. There was no one better than Mark Waugh while catching in his era. So I would pick Mark Waugh over Steve Waugh.
Okay, and the last one is the Chappell brothers.
Okay, so that's obviously well before my time. But I know enough and I've seen enough and read enough about the Chappells. But the thing about Ian Chappell was that he became this quintessential Australian captain who transformed the way the Aussies are perceived to be, right?
Yeah.
He was the first guy to really make them look like world beaters, even if they didn't have the team. Yes, they had the team because they had Lilly and Thompson, and Chappell had some great players in his team. But the most supreme batsman was Greg Chappell. And that I think everybody admits. And in fact, there are few players that were as good when it came to just batting. Martin Crowe says this very often, that he looked at Greg Chappell as his idol or guru. Yeah. So Greg Chappell was a terrific batsman. And therefore, again, I'm going to go with the same logic that I picked Mark Waugh over Steve, even though I love Ian Chappell, that I would rather have seen Greg Chappell as a cricketer, because I think Ian Chappell would have done well in other things as well. So
fair enough. Okay. And now, so you've interacted with a lot of cricketers. Simple question, who is the easiest to get along with?
Who's the easiest to get along with? Okay, that's a nice question. I have a lot of good friends as cricketers, so I want to make sure I get this one right. But I must say, I think Sean Tate is as simple a guy and as easy to get along with as anyone. It's as simple as that. Like you don't need to think twice that you won't get along with him. He'll be just fine.
Okay, and you probably know the next question. Who is the toughest to get along with?
The toughest to get along with? Okay, Sanjay Manjrekar is not easy to get along with, right? So he is great if he likes you. And I must say, maybe this is not a flattering way. I shouldn't be saying he's not easy to get along with. What I would say is that he's a man who has very peculiar tastes, even when it comes to picking his social circle of friends. So Sanjay is a tough nut, but wonderful once you've entered his sort of circle. And the other one that I'd go with, Stuart McGill worked with me in 2014 and was a really tough nut to crack. So he's the other one I'd say who may not be easy to get along with.
Okay. The smartest cricketing brain, in your opinion?
Easy, Stephen Fleming.
Okay. And the biggest influence on your career as a broadcaster?
As a broadcaster?
Yeah.
So there are probably two answers here. One with someone I know personally and one sort of who I idolized growing up. So Sambit Bal is the biggest influence on my professional career as the editor of Cricket Info, as someone who educated me about what, a cricket broadcaster should be about. But he's not a broadcaster himself.
Yeah.
He is an extremely intelligent man on cricket and on most things in life. But as far as an influence goes, in terms of who I try to shape my style, if you want to call it that, or who I picked up the trade from, it has to be Harsha. So he's the biggest in our industry.
Yeah.
This profession exists because of Harsha Bhogle. The space for a non-cricketer in cricket exists because of Harsha Bhogle. So
agreed.
I'd say Harsha.
Okay. So the most underrated and overrated cricketer in the current Indian team, according to you?
In the current Indian team? Oh, that's a cracker of a question.
Yeah.
Fire, loaded with fire. I think the most underrated cricketer in the team right now, let me think this through because I don't want to get this wrong.
Okay, we can do this also if you want to not do it in the current team. The most underrated and overrated.
I have no problem speaking on the current team, so I am happy to speak on the. I think the most. Okay, I think the most underrated cricketer in the current team, I'd probably say it's a different answer, but I'd probably say Umesh Yadav. I think he's a far better bowler than people give him credit for. And unfortunately now at 32, you know, you don't know how much cricket he's got left in him as a fast bowler. But just sure, in terms of Test cricket, I think Umesh Yadav's had a sporadic sort of impact, but I think he's a mighty fine bowler. And I think sometimes he was guilty of not being supported by the captains of his era, whether MS Dhoni didn't want to play a player like Umesh or, you know, then Virat later. So, and also because Ishan became a better bowler and Bumrah and Bhuvaneshwar and whatnot. So I think Umesh is one of the more underrated cricketers. He gets a lot of flack even in the IPL, Umesh, even though he's actually a damn good bowler. So I think Umesh is an underrated cricketer in the current setup. Overrated is a harsh word to actually pin to somebody. But if I am to say someone who, I'll reword it to someone who I think who's achieved a lot more than I think he would have. And I'm a bit surprised by that. I think is Rahane. I genuinely think Ajinkya Rahane has achieved more than I thought he would. And I do believe that if there is a question now on the Indian Test team, it is Rahane's place. Because I do think that there are better players in the reserves now. Someone like Shubman Gill and, needs to play in this team. And I just think Rahane, after playing the amount that he has, he's played over 70 tests. I think after that, you need to be a bankable player to get big runs almost every time. And I'm not saying Rahane doesn't do it. I just think he doesn't do it enough. So that's my take on Ajinkya Rahane, where I think number 5 is the easiest place to bat in Test cricket. The openers are tough. You know, you have Pujara at 3, Kohli at 4. After that, you should be a player that should really cash in that position. I don't think Rahane has done that. So for me, if you want to call that overrated, because people go, Rahane, he's got over hundreds overseas and whatnot.
Yeah.
There's like I think that's a bit of that flatters him a little bit.
Okay. So my next question to you is, I think this will be the toughest one of the lot. So if you could share the commentary box with only one commentator for the rest of your broadcasting career, who would you want it to be?
I think the best commentator right now for me is Nasser Hussain, simply because I think he covers he ticks all the boxes. He can be insightful during a dull period of a test match and keep the conversation interesting enough for you to pay attention. And he can also call the exhilarating finish of a T20 match, with the same level of fervor. So I would say Nasser. I've never worked with him. I hope to at some point, but because I rate him as the best commentator going around today, I'll say Nasser Hussain.
That's great. And so if the World T20 was to happen this year, you would place all your money on?
Wow, I need to recap what I know of international cricket. It's been like so long since we've discussed the currency of cricket, right? So obviously, if it happens in Australia, you can never rule the Aussies out. And the fact they've never won a T20 World Cup only adds to the hunger that they'd want to do it at home. With David Warner in full form again, he's just a remarkable player. So I think he's one of the best in the world. If you ask me who's one of the most underrated players in the world right now, it's Warner. I think he's literally up there as the best all-format player, and sometimes we don't give him the credit he perhaps deserves. So I think Australia is a really good chance. I like the Indian team. I think they'll always do well. I think a winning in Australia might be a bit too much to expect. I think India would be favourites in the T20 World Cup if it's played in India. But I think Australia are my number 1 team, ahead of the West Indies, ahead of New Zealand, ahead of England, who I don't think are as good a T20 team as they are an ODI team. So I would put my money in Australia if the World Cup is to happen in Australia this year.
Okay. And in the current ongoing series between West Indies and England, West Indies has already won the first test. So your prediction on the final timeline, 1 each, or England take it or West Indies take it?
That's a really tough one because I think the West Indies have shown they are so sort of understated a test team. This has been a team that's actually, there are a few friends of mine that told me like, oh, even the West Indies have a pretty new team, right? I said, no, these guys have been playing as a test group for a while now, and they've been playing well. Yes, they've had a few bad defeats. India, they had India in a bit of trouble, but they still lost the series quite convincingly when India were there. But this is a solid team. They actually blew England away a couple of years back. Jason Holder, I think, is another extremely underrated international cricketer in test matches. So if you ask me, with Joe Root coming back for the next test, I think they will play Stuart Broad too. England have a far better chance because batting is their biggest concern. I still think England are a better batting unit once Joe Root is back. And the West Indies, got away in this game, even though their batting is also a little suspect. So I think England will come back. So if this was a longer series, it would have been great fun. But I think England will nick the next one.
Okay, and the series, that's the real question. The series says a draw or England take it?
No, I think, isn't it a 2-test series?
It's a 3-test series.
It's a 3-test series. Oh, I got this wrong. So they're playing 2 at Manchester. My bad. So if 1-1 going into the last test, I'll be on the fence on this one. I think it'll be 1-1. That's okay. What I think. Yeah.
So I'll just name 5 things, and you have to tell me the first thing that comes into your mind.
Sure.
You were pretty familiar with this format.
Yeah, I know this. I know this one.
So yeah. The first one is Rahul Dravid.
Champion.
The Indian Premier League.
Game changer.
Brett Lee.
Fast.
The BCCI.
Powerful.
And finally, women's cricket in India.
I'll use a phrase, on the rise.
On the rise. Okay. So my last question to you in this entire interview is, what, after all of these years, is cricket for you in one word?
It might be a boring answer. I wouldn't say life anymore, but I would say work. Cricket is work now. Yeah. That's it. Maybe it's a nice thing to say as well, that I don't quite have the passion for cricket, as in for the Indian team, that I did when I wasn't working in media. So that's why I said that nothing beats 2011, when I was just a college kid watching India win the World Cup final at home. I don't quite experience that same level of patriotism. I didn't feel as bad when India lost the semi-final, last year. So yeah, I've sort of distanced myself with the emotion of the game. So I can't say cricket is life now, cricket is passion now, but cricket is work. So it's still very rewarding. I'll say it's fun also, if I can pick a second one, because I still love playing cricket. I love everything about it. And I still play cricket till my body allows me to. So, that's something that my passion for cricket remains, that I still love the sport. I'm still obsessed with the sport. But right now, if you ask me to say one thing about cricket and what it means to me, it's work.
That's a unique answer. I've had, in the last 4 episodes, I've had life twice and religion twice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm over that. Religion is a terrible answer if you ask me for cricket, because no, it's not. It's not a religion. So anyway, but it's a passion. It's not religion. Yeah. But anyway, so it's work for me. So sorry if that's a bit boring, but that's honestly what I think.
Okay, great. So that's it from my side. Anything you would want to add, or anything you want to convey?
No, this has been great fun. I think some of the questions were very different, very unique. I enjoyed the brothers segment. I don't know what the motivation to that was, but it was quite cool. So no, I'm glad I did this. So thanks for having me, Ujjwal.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.